Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Kathleen. I may be many things, but I am not a lover of long intros, so let's jump right in. As you can probably tell from the thumbnail, we have moved, and moving as a family of 4 is hard. Whether you are minimalists or not, you still have way more stuff than you realize, and it takes a lot of work getting things out of the nook and crannies and going through it. My tips, things we learned along the way, how we made it work, and how we're doing now that we've moved, because this is a life update after all. My first piece of advice may intimidate you, but I think it's the most important. That is, start early and start with the hard things first. This goes completely against our human nature, where we want to be comfortable, we want things to be easy, and we tend to put off things that are intimidating. But I promise, open the closet you're most worried about and get it done first. That is what I did. The closet in my son's room was blocked intentionally by his crib. I was nervous about the accordion folding doors and pinching fingers, but because it was blocked, we tend to only open it, throw things in we needed to store it, and then close it. So it was full to the brim of hand-me-down clothes the boys had grown out of, and a lot of boxes. I just had to get in and actively sort through every single item. So one day when my kids were getting their planned out screen time during the summer, they get about 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon. I opened that closet, moved the crib, and I was like, okay, I've had a cup of coffee, the kids are entertained, so I'm gonna go through these boxes. And I had fully intended to just do 2 or 3 and then move on, but I found energy and did the whole closet. We took a lot to the thrift store that day and donated it. I found that even though I have cultivated a minimalist home, I still had so much I could get rid of. And I would just want to say, your life is more than your things, and your things do not define your life. So if you're holding on to something that you think is important, that might not be the case. I did keep some memorabilia from each of their childhoods and things for our future, but I really looked at it with a practical eye. Is this worth picking up, putting in a U-Haul, paying gas to haul to our new home, unloading, and then organizing in a new home? That's so much work. Is it better for me to just right now, in this one moment, decide that it's not serving us and isn't something that we need just in case, and instead let it go? Because our thrift store in town is incredible. They take really good care of what's in there. They very rarely throw anything away. They price it really affordably, and it's a great blessing to our community. So I had no qualms at all about donating. And we also had a local pregnancy center, and so I knew anything I could, I would gladly take there. Because I started in advance, I didn't have the stress of looming deadlines and was really able to take my time. And then because I did the hardest things first, as we got closer to our deadline of when we needed to move out, those things that crop up that you weren't expecting, or tasks that take longer than expected, you have margin for that. And that emergency margin makes moving less stressful. So yes, I would say, although moving as minimalists was still a lot of work, it also was significantly easier than I think it could have been. Because we don't let our things define our life, letting go of them is really easy. Part of that is due to our history. We've lived overseas a lot, moved a lot, at least in my childhood. My husband his parents have lived in the same home since he was like 15 or 16. So he's had a lot more stability in that sense, but I moved regularly my whole childhood, and I got really used to packing, moving, unpacking, making new friends. And then when you add moving internationally, you're limited to a 50-pound suitcase. And so I realized, what creature comforts do I actually need and which ones can I let go? Having a minimalist wardrobe in this time was super helpful. I immediately, as soon as we were moving, started packing some of my clothes first thing. And I knew, yes, I'll unpack them when I get to the new house, but right now I'm so busy packing, even though I have a very pared down wardrobe, it's not the time for me to be picking out outfits. So I kept like 10 items in the wardrobe. We're talking a capsule wardrobe. And those are the items I wore my last few weeks. Everything else got packed early and set aside to get loaded when the day finally came. I already have a minimalist skincare routine and minimalist makeup. All this is on my page if it interests you. So I just kept all that going. And then the weekend of our move, one thing that I've changed with my skincare recently is that my skincare soap is now a Dr. Bronner's Castile soap. And this is such a mild and gentle yet effective soap that it can be used for anything. It doesn't have the additives that you'd like to add with your hair products normally. It may not have the water softeners you want in your dishwasher, but it's still going to sanitize and clean absolutely everything. And so that bar of soap I intentionally kept track of. And our first night in our new home, I was able to bathe my kids with it, wash my face with it, wash my hair with it. And I just knew I don't have to unpack this whole kit and caboodle. I need my one item. And it helped a lot. Another thing I did was I packed the kitchen items. And I already have a very minimalist kitchen. You can kind of see that theme throughout this video. But I did decide, again, like my clothing, to pare down. And so the very last few days, it was right around 4th of July, which was a little tricky because we had 2 cookouts we were cooking for. I put a bunch of our dishes away, packed them up, wrapped them in bubble wrap, set them aside, marked as fragile. Show me your big muscles.
Watch out! Boom, boom. Watch out!
And then the items I knew were our daily use items and would need to be the first ones unpacked, I kept in the cupboards. Those were the dishes we used up until the day that we moved. I packed them, I think, the day before. And then the night and the day of, we used paper plates and just ate leftover pizza, as you tend to do when you move. And so I had marked that box as kitchen first. And so I knew, put that in the U-Haul that last day, that last night. It's going to be right there at the opening then. And then when you open the U-Haul, when you reach your destination, it's the easiest box to get to, has everything that you need, and it goes straight to the kitchen. We did a lot of just unloading and dumping and then unpacked as we could. And I was kind of surprised how quick the unpacking process went. We were unpacked very quickly because we'd already done the declutter. Everything we brought to the house were items that we needed and used. So it was really easy to know, okay, all this is vital. All of it needs unpacked. It didn't take too long to unpack because there wasn't much of it. Now, closing down our old house was honestly hard. We loved that house. We had an amazing backyard, great community, a river within walking distance, amazing trails and parks, friends galore. But if you've ever heard God speak in those secret places of your heart and you have that certainty, it's impossible to ignore. I actually did a fast. My husband and I were praying, and he spoke very clearly through scripture because we knew for a while we were supposed to join this church that we loved. It was kind of hard to imagine ever leaving where we were living. We've been there for 5 years. We had great community, and the idea of leaving into all this unknown was rather intimidating. And maybe stay where cost of living in our other house is more affordable and just give ourselves time. And so we thought about maybe waiting till Oliver's kindergarten year was over. And then the Lord led us to this verse in Matthew. Jesus feeds the 5,000, goes off to be by himself, and then the disciples eventually go by boat to the next meeting location. And the 5,000, the crowd, wait. They eat all the leftover bread, and then they cross the river looking for the disciples, looking for Jesus. They finally found Jesus, and they say, "Son of man, where have you been?" And Jesus says, and this is really convicting, "You didn't seek me because you were hungry for me, the bread of life. You sought me because you ate your fill of the bread." And he says you need to stop worrying about bread that perishes and start pursuing the bread of eternal life. And that convicted me so much because our security in this community, our idea in delaying so that we had some more finances saved up to move, all that was the bread that perishes. And God was saying, I've called you to join this church. That's where your spiritual progress lies. You need to follow me. And once we had that conviction, it was so easy to say, okay, we'll say our goodbyes. We'll begin this painful moving process, begin to take steps in obedience. It was a lot of work, of course. When you move, you have to spackle and paint and clean carpets and clean gutters and all these things that you don't even realize. Oh, the turn of the season also, because we were coming into fall. So we worked so hard to get that house as perfect as possible. I'm very proud of how we left it. You know, I'm sure every landlord in the world can't be pleased, but we cleaned that house and made it look as nice as though the Lord himself was our landlord. We wanted to just be transparent and honest before him and let, you know, the chips fall where they may. And then when we moved here, there were still little spots where I noticed, even though it had been cleaned professionally before we moved into this house, like the top of some of our cabinets was still really dirty, some of the hard to reach areas. And so when we moved here, there was still a little bit of deep cleaning in addition to all the unpacking. And then we were trying to find new parks for our kids, trying to go out on hikes, get them excited for where we were going to be living. We got to start going to our new church, which has prayer on Wednesday for 2 hours, prayer and worship. And then their Sunday morning service is 3 hours long because they have prayer and worship in addition to a really firm sermon. It's such a healthy church. And so our kids were getting really excited for all these play dates at church, meeting kids, and then school started. So then I'm trying to get all the applications done, health and physicals done, make sure their immunizations are caught up. Santiago had a birthday in July and Oliver had a birthday in August. It was a whirlwind. In addition to this all, my in-laws came for 10 days. They had an absolute blast. The kids got spoiled rotten. We had a combined birthday for them both. And my brother-in-law came for 3 of those days because we had visitors coming and we were so eager to feel settled and help our boys feel at home. That gave us some extra motivation to get settled in and unpack right away. Also, my husband started working the day after we got here. And so the night of, he's starting to set up his computer. I'm starting to get the kitchen table and some artwork just so that we could feel at home when we woke up first thing the next day. I had made sure I found out, okay, where's the instant coffee, get that out, the basics that I knew we would need the very next morning. And this move was powered by Diet Dr. Pepper. I have not been through the Sonic drive-thru as much any other season in my life as I had been that move. But I will say I have weaned myself back off caffeine and I'm not taking it much now. At the time, there was no limit.
The limit does not exist. The limit does not exist.
I will say starting over in a way when you're in your 30s, people can kind of look at that and wonder, why would you ever want to leave? You have a home you love, you have school systems that you love, you have a community and a church. And we had so many amazing things in that town, so much even just within walking distance of our home. That's how we were able to be a one-car family for so long. However, when you're certain that you're called to move, it's impossible to sit in disobedience any longer, and it's easy to make those sacrifices. And no one else can see what's happening between you and the Lord, between you, the Lord, and your spouse if you're married. So even though some people are like, gosh, why would you want to leave? That's so true. That can be true simultaneously too. I'm certain we're supposed to walk forward in this, and the people that get it will get it. We have been loved and supported from our friends back home and from our friends in our new town. It also helps that we've been visiting the church we came to join on and off. I would say we visited every 4 to 6 weeks regularly for a few years. So obviously we loved this community, this church community a lot. So we had made some connections. And as soon as people realized, oh, this family we see every so often is now here every Sunday, then they put 2 and 2 together and started reaching out and having us join small groups and get numbers for play dates and things. And so it has gone much smoother than I ever could have imagined. The scariest step is the first step. If you're certain it's time to make a change in your life, take it. You won't regret it. I think I'm going to end things here with a little walkthrough of our new home. And I did just want to end things by saying we moved, started school, had a 10-day visit from family, and then got some life-changing news. And I'm so sorry to do this to you, but it will be in the next video. So please subscribe and stick around. I promise I'm nice. You're welcome back in my home anytime. Bye-bye.